The Zyrian Empire was vast and silent, stretching across 100 systems. The alien queen, Elra, stood in the high hall of her palace, staring out at the stars. The light of distant suns reflected off the smooth floors, and a quiet tension filled the room. She had ruled for many decades. But now, a fear gnawed at her. Her only daughter, Leora, could not have children. The empire depended on heirs, on strong bloodlines that carried the power of their ancestors. Without a successor, all they had built for centuries could crumble. Elra's advisors had tried every solution known to their science. They had studied Leora's cells, her genetics, even the energy fields that ran through her body. Leora's infertility was certain, and with each passing year, the chance of securing the future of their empire slipped further away. The queen had always been practical, but this problem touched her heart. She loved her daughter, and she feared what the empire might demand of her if no heir appeared. In the council chamber, Elra gathered her trusted ministers. "We must find another way," she said quietly, her voice carrying authority. "Our bloodline must continue. If we do not act, our enemies will take advantage of our weakness. We must consider the humans. As content, we must consider the humans." Humans. The word sounded strange to the gathered Zyrians. The humans were a young species from a blue planet at the edge of known space. They were fragile in appearance, but had survived wars, famine, and harsh conditions their kind had never adapted to. Ancient records spoke of their resilience, their ability to survive impossible odds. Elra had studied them from afar. Some records suggested that humans were strong, not in muscle alone, but in spirit. Their survival was legendary, and their blood carried vitality that could perhaps complement Zyrian weaknesses. Her chief envoy, a tall figure named Varen, spoke with respect. "Your Majesty, humans are unpredictable. They have little experience with our culture, and we cannot control them. But their biology, it is unlike anything we have ever seen. If we are to continue the line, they may be the key." Elra nodded. She had thought of this before, but hearing it aloud made the possibility real. She wanted her daughter to have choice, but she also wanted her to live with pride. "Bring me candidates," she said. "Bring me one who is strong, yet calm, one who can understand our ways and respect our customs. We cannot fail." Various ships left the Zyrian capital to scout Earth. They observed humans from orbit, noting their cities, their movements, and their culture. The Queen's Council debated which human might be suitable. They needed someone intelligent, but also kind, someone who could balance Leora's reserved nature. The choice was not simple. After many weeks, a young engineer named Alex Carter was selected. He was known for his cleverness and his courage. He had repaired machines that others called impossible to fix. He was calm in danger and never sought glory. But he did not shrink from responsibility. When he was told of the Zyrian offer, he hesitated only for a moment before agreeing. He believed in helping others, even if it meant leaving his home world. Alex's arrival on the Zyrian capital was a mixture of wonder and fear. The city was like nothing he had ever imagined. Massive towers glimmered in the starlight. Vehicles moved silently above him, and beings with shapes unlike anything on Earth walked gracefully around him. The air smelled strange but clean, and he could hear the soft hum of energy flowing through the buildings. He felt small, but he also felt a strange sense of purpose. Leora watched from a high balcony as Alex's ship descended. She had been told he was coming, but seeing him in person made her heart beat faster. She was shy and quiet, often avoiding large gatherings. She had not met many beings outside her own world, and now she was expected to marry one. The thought both terrified and intrigued her. She wanted to believe this could work, but fear made her hesitate. She wondered if humans would understand her, her customs, her life. When Alex finally stepped off his ship, he bowed respectfully. "I am Alex Carter," he said, his voice steady. "I come to learn, to help, and to honor your customs." Liora stepped forward slowly. Her violet eyes studied him. She noticed how calm he was, how gentle his movements. He did not act superior, did not demand attention, and yet there was a quiet strength about him. He was not the alien she had imagined, and perhaps that was a good thing. The Queen, Elra, watched the meeting from a distance. She had expected resistance, perhaps anger, from her daughter. Instead, she saw a careful curiosity. Alex's presence seemed to affect Liora in a way that Elra had not seen for many years. The Queen felt a small hope grow in her chest. Could it be that humans were exactly what they needed? Over the next days, Alex and Liora spent time together, learning each other's customs. Alex listened carefully to every word, every explanation. He asked questions not out of doubt, but out of a desire to understand. He learned the rituals of meals, of greetings, of formal meetings. He respected Liora's space, never pushing her beyond comfort. Liora, in turn, began to open up. She shared stories of her childhood, her favorite places in the palace gardens, the art she loved. She had not spoken to anyone this way for years. One afternoon, they walked through the gardens. Strange flowers glowed softly, and streams reflected the twin suns above. Liora paused at a fountain. "Humans have water like this on Earth?" she asked, curiosity coloring her voice. Alex smiled. "We have water, yes, but not like this. It is magical here. I think it is beautiful." Liora laughed softly. The sound surprised both of them. She had not laughed freely in many years. She realized she liked his presence. He was calm, yet interesting. He was not afraid to be himself, and he did not expect her to change for him. For the first time, she felt a strange sense of comfort. The Queen observed from a distance. She had married off princesses before, but never in such uncertain circumstances. Yet she could see something in her daughter's eyes she had not seen before. Life, curiosity, a spark. She wondered if this human could be more than an alliance, if perhaps he could bring something new to the Empire, something beyond survival. At night, the palace was quiet. Alex studied maps and star charts, learning about the Zyrian systems. Liora watched him from across the room. She saw how he worked hard to understand everything, how he respected the culture and the rules, and how patient he was. She wondered if humans were always like this, or if Alex was unique. The thought made her heart beat faster, and she looked away quickly, embarrassed by her own feelings. The first days passed, and the Zyrian court watched carefully. Some ministers whispered that the human might fail, that he was too weak or too soft. Others whispered that perhaps this union was the Empire's last hope. Elra listened, but said nothing. She wanted to see with her own eyes. She wanted to see if her daughter could find trust, if her daughter could find hope, if perhaps the prophecy of survival was not so impossible after all. One evening, Elra called Alex to her chamber. He knelt before her, as was custom. "Human," she said, her voice soft but firm. "You carry the hope of our empire. Do you understand the responsibility?" Alex looked up. His eyes were steady. "I understand, Your Majesty. I will respect your daughter, and I will do everything I can to honor your people." The Queen studied him carefully. She saw courage, but not arrogance. She saw respect, not fear. She saw a strength that was different from her own. She nodded. "Very well. You may begin the union with my daughter. Let the future unfold." As Alex left, Liora watched him from the corridor. She felt nervous, but also a strange excitement. She did not know what the future would bring, but she felt that for the first time, she might not face it alone. Alex's presence was steady and calm, and somehow, she trusted him. And so, under the twin suns of the Zyrian capital, a human and an alien princess began a union that no one could have predicted. It was a beginning that carried hope, fear, curiosity, and possibility. The Empire waited silently, the stars shining above, and the Queen whispered to herself, unsure if the future would bring triumph or disaster. But for the first time in many years, she saw a small light of hope in her daughter's eyes, and it was enough to make her heart beat faster. The days after the marriage were filled with quiet tension and new discoveries. Leora and Alex shared small moments, learning about each other's worlds. The palace was vast and silent, with long halls and glowing gardens, and Leora often felt the weight of her duties pressing down on her. She was expected to act like a perfect princess, calm and graceful. Yet inside, she was unsure of everything. Alex noticed her unease. He would walk with her in the gardens, pointing out small flowers or curious birds, and talk about Earth in simple ways she could understand. He did not rush her, did not demand her attention, but quietly let her observe and adjust. It was the first time in years Leora felt like someone saw her for who she was, not for what she was expected to be. One afternoon, as they strolled along a glowing river, Alex spoke. "I know this must feel strange, Leora. Marrying someone from another world is not simple. I want you to know that I am here to understand, not to change you." Leora looked at him, surprised by his words. No one had ever spoken like this to her. Most people treated her like a fragile piece of art, beautiful but untouchable. Alex treated her like a person. "Thank you," she said softly. I think I want to try. I want to see if we can make this work." Alex smiled. "We will. We can take it one day at a time." The Queen, Elra, observed from her chamber. She had hoped for this. She had feared Leora. I would reject the human or retreat into silence. But instead, she saw small smiles, small gestures of trust. Hope stirred in her heart again. The Empire needed an heir. Yes, but more than that. The Queen needed to see her daughter happy, even if happiness came from an unexpected place. Life in the palace was not easy. The court watched every move. Ministers whispered, some supportive, some skeptical. They worried that a human might not understand Zyrian politics, that he might fail in public ceremonies or offend powerful figures. Alex studied carefully, asking questions when needed, learning about customs and traditions. He practiced bowing, speaking, and moving in ways that were correct. But he did not lose himself. He remained honest, and people slowly noticed. Leora spent hours with Alex, explaining her world, her memories, and her fears. She told him about the palace gardens she loved, the music that comforted her, and the ancient books she read when no one watched. Alex listened, and sometimes he asked questions that made her laugh. Laughter came slowly, carefully, but it came. For Leora, it was strange to feel warmth toward another being after years of fear and duty. One day, the palace doctor approached them. He was a serious Zyrian, used to speaking about health in precise words. "Princess," he said, "I would like your permission to conduct tests on you. It may help us understand your condition better." Leora shook her head. I do not want more tests. I have had enough of them." Alex stepped forward. "I will be there with you. If it makes you feel safer, we can do it together." Leora hesitated, then nodded. She felt a strange trust in Alex. He was not a doctor, not a Zyrian, Yet his presence calmed her. They went to the medical chambers together. The tests were long and strange, with glowing instruments and soft hums of energy. Alex stayed by her side, holding her hand when the machines made sounds she did not like. As the tests went on, the scientists discovered something unexpected. Humans had traits that Xyrians had never seen. Their cells healed quickly, and their energy fields were strong and adaptable. When combined with Xyrian biology, there was a chance, however small, that infertility could be addressed in ways no one had thought possible. The queen was called immediately. She entered the chamber, her eyes wide. "Is it true?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Can humans? Can Alex?" The chief doctor nodded. "There is a possibility, Your Majesty. We do not yet know the limits, but this is far beyond our previous understanding. There is a possibility. On eventually time, there is a possibility." Elra looked at her daughter and then at Alex. She felt a mixture of fear and hope. The human had not only won her daughter's trust, but also awakened the possibility of saving their bloodline. She did not move or speak for several moments. Her mind raced. If this worked, the Empire could survive, and perhaps her daughter could find happiness as well. Life continued in the palace, but tension grew. Some ministers feared the change. They whispered in dark halls that a human should not have power in Xyrian society, even indirectly. They feared the union would bring new ideas, new ways that might challenge tradition. Slowly, many in the court began to notice that his calm strength was something to admire, not fear. One evening, Leora and Alex sat by a small fountain. The water glowed softly in the evening light. Leora turned to Alex. "I never thought I would feel safe," she said quietly. "Not just from danger, but from expectations. You make it easier." Alex looked at her and smiled. "I am glad. I do not want to take away your duties or your life, but I want to stand with you, not in front or behind, just beside you." Leora felt warmth spread through her chest. She had never spoken like this to anyone. She realized that for the first time, she might not have to face the Empire alone. Alex's presence gave her strength she did not know she had. The queen watched from a hidden balcony. She was silent, observing her daughter. She remembered the fears she had carried, the long nights worrying about the future. Now, seeing Leora smile, seeing her open to trust and even friendship, Elra felt her heart ease. Perhaps humans were exactly what they needed. Perhaps this union was more than politics. Perhaps it was the start of something greater. As days passed, Alex continued to help Leora adjust to palace life. He learned the language, the ceremonies, and the rituals. He respected her space but also encouraged small steps of confidence. Leora began to participate in court events, guided by Alex's calm presence. People noticed the change. She walked taller, smiled more, and her voice grew steady in public. The court whispered about the transformation, and some ministers began to see the human not as a threat, but as a gift to the Empire. One day, a minor accident occurred in the gardens. A small creature, native to the palace grounds, wandered onto a ceremonial path. Leora froze, unsure how to react, but Alex moved quickly, scooping the creature into his arms and calming it. Leora watched in surprise. The human's instinct to protect, to act calmly under pressure, was different from the Xyrian way. It was simple, yet powerful. She realized she admired his courage and quick thinking. That night, Leora wrote in her private journal. She wrote about Alex, about the quiet courage he showed, about the strange warmth she felt in his presence. She had never admitted such thoughts to anyone, not even to herself. Yet she could not deny them. She felt hope, not just for the Empire, but for herself. The queen returned to her chambers, her mind heavy with thought. She had long feared the future, feared the decline of her bloodline, feared the loneliness her daughter might face. Now, she saw that a human could bring more than survival. He could bring trust, courage, and even affection. Elra remained silent, but inside, she felt a quiet relief. The future, once uncertain, now had a small spark of light. And so, the palace settled into a rhythm of new beginnings. Alex and Leora learned each day to trust, to communicate, and to support each other. The court watched closely, the queen observed silently, and the empire waited, unaware of the quiet transformation occurring within its walls. Life was not easy, and challenges would come. The court still whispered, and the empire still faced uncertainty. Yet for the first time in many years, hope had returned. Hope for the princess, hope for the human, and hope for the future of the Zyrian Empire. In this quiet, patient way, the union between human and alien began to grow. It was not dramatic, not filled with grand gestures, but it was steady, sincere, and slowly changing the hearts of those around them. Alex had shown that humans could be strong in unexpected ways. Leora had shown that trust and courage could bloom even in the most controlled life. And the queen, watching from afar, began to believe that perhaps the empire's greatest survival would come not from tradition, but from the courage to embrace the unknown. And so, the story moved forward, quietly, steadily, with new hope glimmering in every step. Alex and Leora took together. The empire waited, the stars shone above, and the future began to whisper promises that were once thought impossible. Life in the palace had grown more familiar for Leora and Alex, but challenges still surrounded them. Even with small comforts, the weight of duty pressed down on Leora. She had begun to enjoy Alex's company and to trust him. Yet, the thought of her infertility and the expectations of the empire never left her mind. One morning, the chief Zyrian scientist arrived at their chambers with a proposal. "Princess," he said, "we have discovered something extraordinary. Human biology interacts with Zyrian cells in ways we did not expect. There may be a method to restore fertility that has never been seen before. However, it is experimental and carries risks." Leora's eyes widened. She had dreamed of children, but had long thought it impossible. The possibility of even trying stirred hope and fear in equal measure. "And Alex?" she asked. "Would this work with him?" Alex took her hand gently. "If you want to try, I will be here. We will face it together. I do not promise success, but I promise I will not leave your side." Leora felt a strange warmth in her chest. She realized that for the first time, she could imagine a future that included not only her duty but also happiness. She nodded slowly. "Then we will try. Together." Preparations began carefully. The palace staff were instructed to respect Leora's privacy, and Alex stayed by her side throughout the tests. The procedures were strange and unlike anything they had encountered on Earth. Glowing instruments, scanned cells, energy flows were measured, and samples were combined under controlled conditions. The palace was silent during these hours, as if the walls themselves held their breath. The queen watched from her chambers, both proud and anxious. She had never expected a human to stand so calmly beside her daughter, to offer support instead of fear. She had hoped for loyalty, but this was something more. She realized that Alex's patience and courage could teach even the oldest traditions something new. As days passed, Leora began to feel subtle changes. Her body felt stronger, her energy grew, and a quiet excitement settled in her mind. Alex noticed the change too. He saw her confidence grow, saw her smile more freely, and saw her begin to move with less caution. She was beginning to trust herself, as well as him. Yet not everyone welcomed this transformation. Some ministers whispered that humans should not be part of the Zyrian bloodline, that no human could ever hold importance in their empire. Rumors began to spread of plots and sabotage. Alex remained calm, focusing on learning the customs, supporting Leora, and respecting the palace traditions. Slowly, even skeptics noticed his dedication and began to trust him. One afternoon, Leora was walking through the palace gardens when she felt a sudden weakness. She leaned against a railing, unsure of what was happening. Alex was immediately at her side. "Leora, are you okay?" he asked, steady and calm. She shook her head, afraid of fainting in public. I think it is just fatigue," she said softly. Alex did not leave her side. He helped her to a bench and sat close, holding her hand. He spoke quietly, not with fear, but with reassurance. "We will rest together. You do not have to do this alone." In that quiet moment, Leora realized how deeply she trusted him. She had been alone for so long, carrying the expectations of the empire, the fear of infertility, and the weight of tradition. Now, with Alex beside her, she felt she could face anything. The next day, the scientists observed results that shocked them. The experimental procedure had triggered changes in Leora's cells. The energy fields within her body were responding to the human traits Alex carried. It was unlike anything Zyrians had ever seen. Elra, the queen, was summoned immediately. She entered the lab silently, her eyes wide with disbelief. The chief scientist explained everything carefully. "Your Majesty, the human's biological traits are compatible in ways we did not expect. Leora's cells are showing signs of vitality, and there is a possibility she may now carry an heir. It is unprecedented. Thanks for watching. Like to see King Ling this comment, active in buying 17.4. Wearing by the teams are word. And 17. The queen could not speak for several moments. She looked at Leora, who was sitting calmly, and then at Alex, whose presence was steady and reassuring. Her mind struggled to comprehend what she was seeing. Humans, whom she had only studied from afar, had become the key to her empire's survival. As she stared, Elra realized that this was more than science. It was trust, courage, and patience combined. Alex had shown qualities that even the oldest Zyrian teachings did not prepare for: loyalty, empathy, and resilience. She felt a wave of emotion she had not felt in decades. The future of her bloodline, her empire, and her daughter's life suddenly seemed bright, almost unthinkably so. But danger still lingered. Rumors of human influence spread like wildfire, and some factions in the court began plotting quietly. They feared that if Leora bore a child with Alex, it would change the balance of power forever. Whispers of sabotage, secret meetings, and hidden alliances began to circulate. Elra knew she could not ignore them. She called a private council to discuss potential threats and protection measures. Alex noticed the tension but did not panic. He continued to support Leora, learning more about Zyrian politics and customs each day. He remained honest, patient, and observant. Slowly, even the most skeptical ministers began to see his value. His calm confidence, combined with his willingness to respect traditions, made him a figure they could tolerate, even admire. One evening, as Leora and Alex walked through the gardens under the twin moons, Leora spoke quietly. "I never imagined that life could feel like this. Like I have a choice, a voice, and someone to rely on." Alex smiled gently. "Life is full of choices, Leora. Some are hard, some are unexpected, but we can face them together. You do not have to be alone anymore." Leora looked up at the stars and felt a deep sense of connection. not only to Alex, but to the universe itself. She realized that for centuries, her life had been planned, controlled, and limited. Now, with this human, there was possibility, adventure, and hope. Days turned into weeks, and the palace adjusted to the new reality. Leora's health improved steadily, and the scientists continued to study the effects of Alex's presence. The queen observed quietly, marveling at the transformation. She had feared human weakness, but now understood human strength. In a way, no record or text could explain. It was not in muscle or power, but in courage, patience, and care. One morning, a sudden crisis struck. A small explosion occurred in a distant section of the palace, caused by faulty energy conduits. Servants and guards rushed to contain the problem. Leora froze in fear, unsure of what to do. Alex reacted immediately. He guided her to a safe area, checked the surroundings, and even helped redirect the energy flow to prevent further damage. His calm actions and quick thinking impressed everyone watching. Leora felt a surge of admiration and gratitude. She realized again how deeply she relied on him, not only for comfort, but for strength and safety. That night, Leora sat quietly by the fountain, reflecting on everything that had happened. She thought about her fears, her doubts, and the hope that had begun to grow. Alex joined her, sitting beside her silently. She did not need words. His presence was enough. The queen, observing from a hidden balcony, allowed herself a small smile. Now, she saw that sometimes survival and success depended not only on bloodlines or strength, but also on trust, courage, and the willingness to embrace the unknown. Humans, with all their simplicity and resilience, were teaching her daughter, and perhaps the empire itself, lessons that no tradition had ever prepared them for. And so, life continued quietly in the palace. Alex and Leora learned to support each other, to face challenges together, and to grow stronger with each passing day. The court observed closely, some skeptical, some curious, but all aware that something remarkable was happening. The queen watched silently, filled with hope and wonder. The future was still uncertain. Dangers and challenges remained, both from within and outside the empire. Yet for the first time in many years, there was a sense of possibility, a sense that perhaps, just perhaps, the impossible could become reality. Leora and Alex were no longer just a princess and a human from Earth. They were partners, allies, and perhaps the key to the empire's survival. And under the twin moons of the Zyrian capital, a quiet promise was made, not with words, but with trust, courage, and patience. A human and an alien princess, standing together, ready to face whatever the future would bring.